Right, well, this card was so bad that the UFC saved themselves $50,000 in a Performance of the Night bonus because there literally were not enough good performances to give out 2 Performance of the Night bonuses. Let's go through the entire card. UFC Fight Night Vegas 43. Vieira versus Tate just took place. I'm going to start at the early prelims, ending with the main event. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Luana Pinheiro versus Sam Hughes. Luana Pinheiro got this one done in a very close fight. Most of the fights on this card were very competitive and back and forth and won by a certain few moments. Luana Pinheiro won the first round. She got, I believe, a couple of takedowns in that round. Landed the better shots in that round as well. I thought she was actually losing the second round towards the end of it, but she landed a knockdown at the end of the second round and had a decent flurry there. She also could have won the third round, but I do believe that Sam Hughes might have barely done enough to win the third. It was a close fight. Some judges gave it 30-27. Some judges gave it 29-28. Both scorecards are okay. Pretty uneventful in all honesty. I feel like can I just maybe like cut this off, edit it, and then just sort of replay the same thing I just said by changing the names and apply it to every single fight on the card? Because I feel like that could be a very, very good analysis of every fight on this card, and you'll see what I mean. We move on next to Shayilan Neurdanbieke versus Sean Soriano, another fight that went the distance. 29-28 on the scorecards. Very, very close fight in general. Sean Soriano won the first round, in my opinion. He landed the better shots. He stuffed the takedowns of Shayilan Neurdanbieke. Then in the second and third round, Shayilan took over. I picked him to win this one. I picked Luana Pinheiro as well, by the way. I picked him to win this one. I said he'd win this in the grappling department. 29-28, and he went out there and done exactly that. Landed the better shots in the rounds 2 and 3. Landed more total strikes in rounds 2 and 3 as well. And it was just a great reversal that he landed in round 2 that changed the direction of the entire fight. It looked bad for him. I believe Sean Soriano was the guy on top. I don't know why he engaged in the grappling with Shayilan. He's a striker, so I don't know why he was shooting takedowns out there, but he got 2 for 2, so at least he got 100% takedown rate. But even still, Shayilan got the reversal, reversed him a couple of times actually, Sean Soriano, ended up on top, landed the better shots. As soon as he found himself in half guard in the center of the cage, you kind of knew the round was over. Sean Soriano didn't really have an answer, and Shayilan just sort of laid on top of him and landed shots here and there. At the end of the third, he had his back and he was fighting for a choke and was landing decent shots there as well. Just an uneventful grappling match. It was decent, it was okay to watch. But let's move on to another fight on the card, which is Cody Durden versus Aori Qileng. I have a lot to say about this one. Not really the fight, but the post-fight interview. Cody Durden won, in my opinion. He landed more strikes in the first round. He landed more strikes in the second round as well. And he won the grappling moments in those rounds too. He lost the third round, I guess, which is where you can give it to Aori Qileng. But Cody Durden was busier. He was landing the better strikes. He even made the third round close anyway with his grappling and total strikes there as well. He was completely gassing out in that third round, but I could see him barely doing enough in the second, which he outlanded Aori Qileng in. Barely doing enough in the first, and I mean barely doing enough. Like, it was a close fight, and it maybe could have gone either way, and then Cody Durden would get the takedown, and that would kind of be the difference maker to make the judges think, okay, good, let's give him this round. He did look like he was slowing down as the fight went on, but he put a hell of a pace on. Couldn't really get the takedown in the first round. Got a couple of them, I believe, but didn't really establish great control time. In the second round, he had better control time on Aori Qileng. It was just a very close fight, and the takedowns of Cody Durden swayed the judges' opinions, which was basically the narrative of the entire card tonight as well. A lot of takedowns, swayed opinions on certain rounds. But yeah, close rounds, incredibly back and forth. Aori Qileng maybe was landing bigger shots, but they were fewer and far between. Cody Durden also landed some decent shots of his own. Aori Qileng did slow down himself in that third round, but had a decent third round for himself. And Cody Durden barely did enough with a couple of total strikes, a couple of takedowns, a little bit of control time here and there, and got himself the win in a razor-close decision that went his way. Let's talk about the post-fight interview, because that's mainly the focus of this fight. He says afterwards, I beat his ass and he can go back to China where he's from. And the entire MMA world, on Twitter, in the comment sections, all of the MMA media, are basically saying that everyone now hates Cody Durden. He added a bit of spice to the division. Am I wrong? He's got all of this attention on him. The entire card was shit. This was one of the highlights of the card. Derek Lewis made beating Alexander Volkov all about beating the Russian guy. Fuck Putin was literally like one of his words in the post-fight speech. He was literally talking about the fact that he wanted to beat this Russian motherfucker's ass. That was the entire point of Derek Lewis's speeches afterwards, and his post-fight speech at the press conference as well. His entire narrative was he was there to beat the Russian motherfucker and send him home. No one had a problem, you know? If the Korean Zombie beat Arnold Allen and said, yeah, I had to send him back to Britain without his win money, no one would have a problem. No one, I believe, does have a problem, in all honesty. But, you know, it was a rude thing to say. He shouldn't have said it. But he said it. I wish he didn't apologise, because I kind of want a little bit of a heel in the flyweight division. I feel like that's what's missing. These flyweights don't get a lot of attention, and I feel like the main way they could get attention, like how the lower weight classes did in boxing, is to make people hate them, like Floyd Mayweather did. And Floyd Mayweather went about things the very same way. All about race, called Manny Pacquiao, told him to make him some sushi or something like that, even though Manny Pacquiao isn't even from the area that created sushi. It was a weird thing, but Floyd Mayweather did the same thing, said a couple of words here and there. I don't think this was that bad. Send him back to China where he's from. He is from China. He's from Inner Mongolia, which is owned by China. He's from China. It's not racist. It's maybe a bit rude to Chinese people. But then again, I'm saying, Chinese people aren't the same race. It's a very big area that China covers. You know, a lot of different climates, a lot of different looks of people around the area, a lot of different geographical locations that are still within China. It's honestly kind of racist to assume that Chinese people are all the same race. But either way, I think it was good. It spiced up the division. He's already got Muhammad Mokaev calling him out. And he said in the post-fight speech, yeah, I don't care. Come do something about it. That's literally what he said. I loved it. I wish he didn't apologise. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. But there's so many examples of other fighters doing this where they didn't really get backlash for it, in all honesty. I mean, Kamaru Usman, most notably at UFC 268. Between him, a black fighter, and Colby Covington, a white fighter, a guy asked him who he thinks would win. Always bet on black. No problem from anyone whatsoever, other than myself, I guess, in certain ways, where I thought it was a little bit weird. I didn't say he should be cancelled for it or removed from the UFC for it. I just said it was a little bit of a tasteless comment, a little bit weird, and I just was mainly angry at the fact that no one had a problem with it in the mainstream media, but everyone has a problem with Cody Durden saying, go back to China. It's not a nice thing to say, but some people aren't very nice. And I like not very nice people because they're more interesting than people that are always nice, in all honesty. If Cody Durden said, yeah, you know, shout out to my team and my wife and my kids, and we did it, I wouldn't give a fuck about Cody Durden, and I wouldn't give a fuck right now either. I give a fuck about Cody Durden. I kind of want to see him lose, because he's not that good, really. And he's added a little bit of spice to the division. There's some beef going on. Jake Hadley wants a piece of it. Muhammad Mokaev wants a piece of it. Let's do him versus another guy. Jeff Molina is the guy that he called out, and they've been going back and forth as well. And to be honest, he put his hand out to shake Aori Qileng's hand at the weigh-in, and I watched it back a second ago, and Aori Qileng completely ignored him. Saw that he put his hand out for a handshake, and just went, completely ignored him. Dead face, ignored the handshake. That's bad blood. It's fair game for a guy to say a couple of bad words, not to mention his adrenaline sky high. I have no problem with this, but I'm sure the MMA world are going to get grilled, and I feel like Dana White's going to have to, people are going to ask Dana White what he's going to do about this situation, when he had no problem with Derek Lewis saying anything, no problem with Kamaru Usman saying anything, no problem with Israel Adesanya ruling his division with a black fist. No problems whatsoever with those. You got to keep the same energy with all people across the board. That's the only way the world will be equal. Moving on up the card to another fight. Lupita Godinez versus Loma Lookboonme, oh dear. I thought Loma Lookboonme could have won rounds 1 and 3. Okay, because I get Lupita Godinez landed more significant strikes in the first round. She won the second round pretty clearly, in my opinion, but it was close. I just thought, okay, and here's where I'm going to defend myself. I've watched it back. I do believe that Loma Lookboonme won rounds 1 and 3. I know they're total strikes, but they're still knees to the body. And she landed a lot of knees to the body in the first round. And got a takedown on Lupita Godinez in the first round as well, and ended up on top for a bit, landed a couple of strikes. Won the first exchange with the grappling situation, knee to the body a couple of more times, was punching in the clinch quite a bit in the first round. I believe on activity of actually trying to strike your opponents, which is what this is kind of based on, Loma Lookboonme did more than Lupita Godinez in the first round. And in the third round as well, arguably. But no, they gave it to Lupita Godinez. 30-27 across the board, which I think is very bad because she can't win the third. She can't win the third round. I understand there's an argument in the first, but there's no way she wins the third round. But again, gave a lot of points to the grappling and position holding that Lupita Godinez was going for, despite throwing basically 0 strikes from that position other than leaning her elbow on the face of Loma Lookboonme. No idea why they got 13-7 in the first round for significant strikes, but you know what? It was close enough to where I can see it going either way. Not going to say it was a robbery. I just lean towards Loma Lookboonme kneeing her over and over again in the clinch about 20 times in the first round. That's all I'll say. She stuffed 7 of the takedowns as well. But either way, moving on to another fight up the card before the dislikes come rolling in. Rafa Garcia versus Natan Levy. Close fight. Natan Levy did more damage. He landed more significant strikes. He landed more total strikes. He landed the better strikes out of the two of them. He got controlled in the grappling positions despite getting back up multiple times, and I think it was the slams. If you're going to take someone down, might as well slam him, because the judges seem to see that as damage, which it kind of is damage when you think about it. So I'm not saying this is a bad decision. I know a lot of people online are saying Natan Levy got robbed. I get the argument for it, but I thought Rafa Garcia was landing good shots of his own. Natan Levy wasn't really landing too many good shots upstairs. A lot of shots to the body with that front teep. Not really too big of a damaging blow, whereas Rafa Garcia would land like a big right hand every now and again that would get Natan Levy's attention. Very close fight. Could have gone either way. Rafa Garcia got the big slam at the end of the round to convince the judges that he won. He played the game and he won the fight based on that. Rafa Garcia gets the job done. No complaints from me. It was a close fight, and if you want to win a fight that's that close, you got to make it a little bit clearer in Natan Levy. I'm not really feeling too sorry about him losing that one or getting robbed, as some people online are saying. Rafa Garcia got it done. He got it done in spectacular... Oh, what am I talking about? Just rambling now. Not in spectacular fashion, which is what I was about to say. It was another shit fight on the card. Like every fight on this card, pretty much. Like, I feel like no fight on this card got over 30 significant strikes in any of the rounds. Holloway would be crying right now watching this card. Moving on to another fight, which was Pat Sabatini versus Tucker Lutz. Again, Tucker Lutz got out-grappled for 3 rounds. Sabatini did little to no damage in those positions, but he did. No, I'm wrong. He did do damage. This was one where there was some damage done. I'm remembering the fights as it goes on because I really tried hard to block these fights out of my memory. Tucker Lutz was going to the body well on the feet. Just kept getting taken down. He was defending well. He wasn't in danger. He had his back taken at one point in round 2, which I believe is where they gave the 10-8 round. I don't think it was a 10-8 round, but fair play. He had his back for the entire round. He was punching him the whole time. I get it. It's a 10-8 round. I can understand it, kind of. A lot of control time for Pat Sabatini, really. He just was a little bit better in the grappling every time, and Tucker Lutz just was getting back up, getting to a good position to defend a takedown. Just wasn't really bursting enough to get out of those positions. He wasn't urgent enough to escape those positions. And what ended up happening was Sabatini would get him down, Lutz would get back up to one knee, and then as he was getting back up to his feet, Sabatini would put a hook in around the back and take the back of Tucker Lutz and do work from there. But it got better as the fight went on. Lutz did better as the fight went on, but overall, Pat Sabatini, 30-27, landed more total strikes, landed more significant strikes, and got the control time to get it done. Really dull fight again. But, you know, this card was really something, this card, I tell you. Moving on. Actually a good fight that's interesting to talk about. Adrian Yanez versus Davey Grant. Watched it again. 30-27 is a bit silly, but I can kind of understand it. I know people are calling for that judge's job. If you really watch the fight, now please do not immediately dislike this video. If you really watch that fight, every round, there is actually an argument for 30-27. It sounds weird to hear that kind of scorecard in a razor-close fight. But you can barely do enough in every round. Now, I do not believe... I actually had this very weirdly scored. I thought that Davey Grant won the first round. I thought that Yanez won the second round, 1-1 going into the third. And the third round was razor close. Very close. Grant arguably could have won it. Yanez arguably could have won it. But it was a very close one. No, actually, what am I talking about? No, I had Grant in round 2. I'm confused. I had Grant in rounds 1 and 2. Yanez in the third. Round 1's very close. Now, the only reason I can understand a bit of a... This is not a robbery. It's just a decision that can go either way. I think Grant landed more shots. I think he landed some of the harder shots as well in that first round. I think he took Yanez off of his feet with inside leg kicks about 3 different times in that first round from what I remember. Losing my ability to speak. I'm that tired after this fucking card. It nearly put me to sleep, for fuck's sake. At least someone went to sleep tonight. Fucking hell, no one else did. Other than myself, nearly. But still, Davey Grant won the first round, in my opinion. But he could have lost because Adrian Yanez cracked him with a good shot at one point and Grant kind of wobbled backwards for a second. So I understand giving value to that shot and saying that Yanez won. I think anyone could have won that fight. It's literally opinion based. Do you give more points to Davey Grant landing more shots and landing more effective shots? Or do you give more points to Adrian Yanez also keeping up in shots, keeping up in effective shots, and having that one moment where he staggered Grant backwards with a decent right hand that looked like it hurt him for a second? Literally opinion-based round in the first, as close as it gets. They gave it to Adrian Yanez. I'm just saying, 30-27 is not a fucking ridiculous scorecard, because Grant could have won 2 and 3. 3 was Yanez's, in my opinion, but it was close. Round 1 is fucking probably Grant, you know? I don't know whose fucking round that is. It's not a good look for Yanez, but he gets the job done. And Davey Grant's a tough customer anyway. He beats a lot of people. He's just very good in general. But Yanez has got to improve and get a bit busier out there and just sort of force the action a little bit more, go to the body a bit more, go to the legs a bit more. I feel like Yanez is very good. His boxing is a treat to watch. He has amazing boxing fundamentals, amazing head movement as well. He barely gets hit clean. But I just need him to mix it up a bit more, wear down an opponent first with leg kicks and body shots, and then start going to the head, because it felt like at certain times he was headhunting a little bit too much in there, and Grant would just like slam a front kick to the body and sort of get his attention that way, or slam an inside leg kick and get his attention that way instead. Great fight though, could have gone either way. Yanez won, not mad at it, I understand, he rocked him at one point in the first round. Good fight. Moving on up the card, Rani Yahya versus Kyung-Ho Kang. Again. 29-28 decision. Won it in the grappling, did Rani Yahya. The first round was clearly Kyung-Ho Kang. He rocked Rani Yahya, dropped him at one point. There was a knockdown scored. Rocked him at one point on the feet. It was like a Chandler Oliveira knockdown, so it's not like Kyung-Ho Kang caught him and just sent him to the canvas, but he caught him, and then Yahya sort of wobbled himself to the canvas afterwards because he'd been hurt badly. Rani Yahya was chopping at the low kicks quite a bit in this fight, very well at range on the feet, landed a few of them in good fashion in the first round. Kyung-Ho Kang looked way better in the first round though, landing the big shots, stuffing the takedowns early, landing good knees in the clinch, landing a couple of good leg kicks of his own here and there, but mainly he was headhunting, landing big shots around the guard of Rani Yahya, who was just covering up like he's in a boxing match and he's got massive gloves on, which is just not the case. Getting caught around the guard with the left hook, I believe, of Kyung-Ho Kang. Second and third round, Yahya gets the takedown, gets the half guard in the center of the cage, and Kyung-Ho Kang just don't fucking get up for the rest of the round both times. And Yahya total strikes his way to victory. Exhilarating. A truly exhilarating performance from Rani Yahya. Honestly, beyond exciting. It was absolute mayhem in those last 2 rounds. Honestly, the first round wasn't too bad, and I thought, hang on a second, entertainment on a UFC card. I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Maybe Yanez versus Grant sort of spurred on the rest of the card to start having some interesting fights, but no. Second and third round was just Rani Yahya, half guard on top. Kyung-Ho Kang's had the same problem throughout his entire career. Can't really deal with the wrestlers. Always has a pretty bad gas tank. Saw it here tonight. I picked Rani Yahya. He got the job done. Moving on up the card. I picked Yanez as well, by the way. Moving on. Taylor Santos versus Joanne Calderwood. Okay. Really good performance by Taylor Santos. You know, she waited for her moments. She capitalized when she needed to. She landed with a bigger power. And she cracked Joanne Calderwood badly first. Landed a couple of big follow-up shots. Joanne Calderwood worked her way back up to her feet. Tried to get back into the fight, but no. Taylor Santos cracks her again. Puts her down again with a vicious combination. Finishes her off on the ground a little bit. Calderwood, or Wood. Fuck, this new name. Just cut her. I don't want to say it anymore. Calderwood. I'm just saying her name. Calderwood shoots for a takedown. Doesn't get it. Santos gets the back position. Goes for the rear naked choke. Wood is almost out of the position to try and get out of it, but the squeeze is very tight, and Taylor Santos gets the tap in the first round via rear naked choke. The only finish on the entire card. The only performance bonus on the entire card, other than the fight of the night bonus for Yanez versus Grant, which I'm proud of, because Grant got a little bit of extra money that he wouldn't have got, because it was a very close fight. I'm glad about that. But Taylor Santos, man. Lost to Mara Romero Barella. Took Roxanne Modafferi to a decision. Took fucking Gillian Robertson to a reasonably competitive decision. And destroys Joanne Wood in the first round. Like it's nothing. Toughest test, easiest fight. Maybe she fights to the level of her competition. She looked good out there. Looked like it could be a threat in the flyweight division. Well, I'm so sorry. Looked like she could be a threat in the flyweight division. Great power. Great power. I thought Joanne Calderwood would win this one, but no. Taylor Santos looked great. Landed good shots. Waited for her moment. And got the big blows when she needed to. Moving on up the card. Sean Brady versus Michael Chiesa. I went with Michael Chiesa here. And honestly, there's an argument he wins. And I'm itching my ear right now extremely aggressively. I'm sorry. It's very itchy. There's an argument Chiesa wins. I don't think it's a good argument because Brady did have his back. But, like, we scoring damage or not? Like, that's the rules, right? Are we not scoring damage anymore? We're back to scoring control. Chiesa did way more damage in round 2. You know? Way more damage in round 2. Brady just held his back. Didn't really land anything on the feet at all. Landed a couple of total strikes on the ground, maybe, but he won the first round clearly. Sean Brady got the first round, landed total strikes, landed significant strikes on the feet as well, got the takedowns when he needed to, and controlled him on the floor for very long amount of time. Round 2, Michael Chiesa starts pouring it on, lands a couple of big shots on the feet, lands a couple of good combinations, a couple of eye pokes in there as well that they said sorry for. They were joking back and forth, which I didn't particularly like because I had money on Chiesa. Don't like to see him joking around. Let's get this win. Either way, Sean Brady. Second round, he doesn't do anything in terms of damage, straight up. Sure, he's on the back in certain moments of that round, but he doesn't do anything in terms of damage. A couple of total strikes, maybe. And I'm talking 5 total strikes, maybe, in that round. Maybe 10 at push. I can give him 10. Chiesa, like, on damage, landed a better shots on the feet. Cracked Sean Brady, I believe, about 3 different times with solid, good shots. Landed punches from his back. And he didn't get the win. You can give it to Sean Brady. Not a robbery again. Just another one of these fights on the cards that are like, fuck, opinion-based judging, control time, damage, who you going to give it to. Sean Brady was bleeding more than Chiesa. Chiesa didn't really have a mark on him the entire fight long. And then round 3 is the interesting one because Michael Chiesa, dude, this should have been the main event. If this was the main event, Chiesa finishes him in the 4th round. And my prediction is correct, but it's not correct. Sean Brady got saved by the bell in round 3. Chiesa had landed huge blows on him in round 3. Big shots on the feet. Rocked Brady on the feet, I believe, on 2 different occasions in that 3rd round. Then went for his own takedown. Immediately got the takedown. The only one he shot of the entire fight. Got on top. Immediately passed into full mount. And Brady had nothing on the ground. Curl up. Cover up. Chiesa's raining down big shots. Gets the job done in the 3rd round. Almost finishes the fight. Sean Brady gets saved by the bell. He's literally covering up like he's about to get finished. And Michael Chiesa doesn't get enough time to get the finish. Very close fight. Chiesa, why didn't you shoot first? Why did you not shoot first? I don't understand. I know this whole Rittenhouse case has got us sort of questioning whether or not we should shoot first. But Michael Chiesa needed to shoot first in that fight. 100%. You're not fucking applying for self-defense here, you know what I mean? Like, let's get this fucking takedown stuffed and shoot your own fucking takedowns. Because as soon as you did, you had immediate success. He had no confidence in his grappling, it seems. I think he overestimated Brady. Brady's not fucking that good. Let's be real. I don't think Brady beats the top guys. He called for a 5-rounder. DC even gave that look as well. 5-rounder? Oh, Brady, you want 5 rounds? You know, it was one of those, are you sure you want 5 rounds? Because that 3rd round, you were curled up like a bitch. But either way, Brady won the first 2. Chiesa could have won the last 2. Brady wins. Remains undefeated. I don't think he beats the top guys. I think he'd lose to Bilal. I think he'd lose to Bilal fucking Muhammad. Just fucking rarely hear me say that fucking statement. Moving on. Up the card. Vieira versus Miesha Tate. Yeah, Vieira won. It was an abomination to mixed martial arts. Fuck, I don't really have much to say about this. It was one of the best fights on the card. It was one of the best fights on the card. And it was shit. The output was only higher because they didn't really grapple too much. Tate had this weird stance. You know how some fighters, they have their fists up in fights? Tate had this weird stance where she would go around the place like a retard. No idea who taught her to do that. They need to be fired as a judge. Immediately fired as a judge. No idea who told her to do that whatsoever. But that's what she decided to do out there with 17 years of training. Looked like a fool. Decent scrap though. Tate got bloody. Also got a fucking pair of stinky fingers against Qileng Vieira as well, no doubt. 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. And Miesha Tate lost. Could have won the first 2. No, lost the first 2. Could have won the first. Lost the rest. I could see 4-1 Qileng Vieira. I could see 3-2 Qileng Vieira. I don't see Tate winning that fight. It was a close one, but she just didn't do enough. She was bleeding everywhere. She was getting hit by the bigger shots. She was getting her takedown stuffed, which is never a good look in a close fight either. And yeah, that's that. Done. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. So glad I waited until fucking 3 a.m. to watch that one. Absolute barn burner. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. You know what they should do? Save the 50k. Give an extra 50k bonus out on another card. Honestly. Or go back to the last card. Who didn't get a... Let's check. Who didn't get a performance bonus on the last card? Holloway versus Rodriguez. Who deserved one out of this? So, Sean Woodson didn't get a bonus for his Colin Anglin performance. That's what I'm seeing here. Da Un-Young didn't get a bonus for finishing Kennedy Nzechukwu in the first round. Okay? Rafael Alves didn't get a bonus for upsetting Mark Jacasey with a guillotine in the first round. How about Song Yadong didn't get a bonus for his head... Who got the... Andrea Lee got the bonus. Okay. Separate the check 4 ways. 12,050 for all of them. 12,500 for all of them. And give them all fucking an extra bit of paycheck because that they deserved it and this card didn't. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.